Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT Champions Power Rankings. This will be my first video for Champions. I have a lot coming. I have a top 20 list, 4 different videos on how every team from every region, so like one for Americas, one for EMEA, one for Pacific, one for China, how every team can win the event, which I'm going to be talking a little bit about in this video. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be doing, if I didn't say, my top 20 as well, players. And if I have any other random ideas, I'll throw them in as well. So be prepared for all that kind of content. Sorry if you just hear my dog barking. I have no idea what he's barking at. But yeah, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for all that stuff, and let's get right into the tier list. All right, so we're gonna start at the bottom here with some upset teams, teams that might be able to win a game by catching a team off guard, but shouldn't really be doing too much of this tournament. I'm gonna start with BLG. Um, I think they're somewhere in between like EDG and ASE with how they play. Like they have similar firepower to ASE at the last event, Attacking Soul Esports. If anybody is confused what I'm talking about, but yeah, nowhere close to EDG on a firepower level. But I think in terms of the way they play the game, I think they're actually pretty similar. Maybe a little bit more overheating. Like they're definitely not on EDG's level in any way. Um, but I think in terms of like their ideas, their calling, and like their general like structure is better than most other Chinese teams. But it's still not good enough to really win games at an international event like this. So that's why I have them 16th and at the bottom of this tier. And the other team in this tier is FPX. About the same as BLG, but I think they have a little bit more potential to like have a couple more upsets, just because the firepower is better and the way they play in terms of like the comps, like they play double controller Omen Astra on Pearl and on Ascent, I think, which is just really weird. Could maybe catch some teams off guard, but most likely won't, and which is why they're 15th. And then in 14th, and I should have made a okay, there it is. I should have made a tier so I could see the black logos. But in my next tier, which is can make a run, I don't really think this team fits the like name of the tier, but I don't think they're in the tier below this, and that tier also doesn't fit them. It's Giants. They're not a bad team, but they're not a good team. This team is quite literally the most mid team I've ever watched in literally every single category, except maybe a few individuals. Like Nookie is very, very good on that Sentinel role, which is kind of surprising that he made that switch and is very, very good at it. Cloud is also a very good initiator. I didn't notice him as much in LCQ, um, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I still think he played very well and his utility was very good. I just didn't notice him winning like absurd clutches. Actually, he might have, and I just forgot about it. But whatever. Regardless, I just don't think this team is even great, maybe even good at any category, but they're just about average on every level, which is why like they're not making playoffs, especially with the teams in their group. As you'll see with my pick'ems, which will come like a little bit more before the event. Um, and like they're not getting a big upset over like a Paper X or EDG in their group or anybody in playoffs. If they do manage to make it there, barring like, I mean, that would be like a huge drop off from Paper Rex or EDG for that to happen. I just don't see this team doing anything of significance. They're quite literally the most mid and boring team ever, which is why they're 14th, yeah. And then we have Crew Navi next. Which one do I want to do? Actually, okay, I'm gonna change this on the fly. I'm actually gonna go Foot next. Um, the other EMEA team, fourth place, or third place, yes, who had some nerves at lock-in, or not lock-in, Tokyo. Jeez, I cannot. I get those two. I always say lock-in for whatever reason. I don't know why. But at Tokyo, they had nerves at Tokyo. Kind of led to them getting rolled by DRX on that last map. But other than that, I think they were fairly good. Showed a lot of like nice set play potential. Can catch some teams off guard. I think this team does have a chance to make a run. They have pretty good individuals if they can get over the nerves, continue to build on what they built. You can see this team doing pretty well. I'm just not fully confident in it. I think it could happen. Not saying it will. Um, but yeah, they should be better than Giants. I feel pretty good about that. Even though they're not the best or even top three in the NBA teams. And then it's between Crew and Navi. And I think I'm gonna give the edge to Crew, so I'll just do that. Um, I have a little bit more faith in Navi than other people do. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Angel in his first duels, their troll comps, all that kind of stuff, and I fully agree with everything. But also, the individuals on this team are just insane. I think that if they could figure out maybe like 50% of their issues, like the man advantage throws that they've had, I think if they figured that specifically out, this team could make a run to like, dare I say, top four, because of how good like Sagetsu, Shao still are. CNET is very good. They've actually fixed the roles, which were an issue at Tokyo for them. Um, but other than that, I think they're relatively the same team. I think if they keep building on that with the break between LCQ and Champions, I think you could see this team being a lot better than people expect, um, just because of the community narrative about them. And then Crew, I think I'm actually a little bit lower on them than a lot of people are. Um, I don't have super confidence in this team making a run, but if they do make a run, they're going to go deep because Kesnet is on fire right now. Klaus has been playing like one of the best initiators in Americas. Just in LCQ, I wouldn't rate him as that just because it's one tournament, and I've never seen Klaus do anything of significance um, up until that point. Nags has been playing well, which isn't as much of an outlier, but still was like night and day from his America's League performance. Who else is on that team? Davies has been really good. I always thought he was pretty good from watching him in like the off season, and through the regular season. I still thought he was pretty good. And then Melzer, who I think, but obviously behind Kesnet, has been the biggest piece for this team. He's been IGLing. His IGLing has actually been sick at LCQ, and he's on fire as an individual. So if he stays up on that pace, I think this team has a chance at making playoffs. Just that group is really tough to get out of for them and Giants. And then our last team in can make a run is Zeta. Um, I think their calling looks a lot more comfortable with Laz on Chamber. I'm pretty sure he's still calling, if I remember correctly. Um, but that could just be wrong. A lot of the comps are kind of weird with like the double duelist shit on like Lotus. They play it on another map, Fracture. They play double duelist Chamber on both those maps as well, which is kind of weird. Which I don't know how it'll work against like the top teams. Um, but still, I think they do look like old Zeta. Um, just some of the ways they've been calling, like especially I've been seeing it on like Fracture. They've had some calls on Lotus that were really good, and if Laz is heating up, this team does have a shot to make a run, as the tier has been named. But also, it's going to be really hard to get out of that group with Fnatic and NRG. Also, I put Fnatic in a tier of their own that I don't even need to talk about because they're that good. So I just thought I would mention that, even though I'm not going to mention it at any point in the video because they're just so unbelievably good that you can't put them in a tier with anybody else. And then next up in ninth and in my dark horses tier, I have DRX, who might fit a little bit more in between the two tiers. I just have no faith in this team. I think just the many internal issues they've had with like either it be the way they play the game, the way they run the team, or even who is playing in the official matches, whether it be Foxy or Zest. I think this team is going to blow up over the offseason. I don't know exactly who's going to leave and who's going to stay. Maybe other than Mako. Like, if you're DRX, you got to keep him. Um, I just don't know what direction this team is going to go in the future, or really what they're going to do at Champions. They might just say, "Fuck it, let's give it one last go," and just decide to hit heads, which teams have done in other esports in the past. So it's hard to say. Like, there is definitely a chance they could go on a run. That's why they're in dark horses, but I don't see it happening. And then next up, an eighth at Liquid, which I think it's pretty self-explanatory. They were pretty disappointing at Tokyo. Looked like nerves got to them a little bit in some of the games, um, especially that Haven game where they were up a lot against NRG. It was like something like 11-6, 12-6, not 12-6, 10-6, 11-6, something like that. That did not mean to do that. Just fidgeting so I can actually focus on something. Um, and yeah, I don't really have a ton of faith. I mean, Redgar was just throwing opportunities away at times. I thought Soulcast was okay, which was the main area of criticism for that team. I don't know why. Safe didn't live up to the best duelist in the world hype that I was giving him. And yeah, again, another team that could just pop the hell off out of nowhere and go on a run. That's why they're in the dark horses tier, because I think if they do go on a run, they definitely have a shot to win the tournament. Some of these teams, I think they could go on a run, but they're not going to win. Navi is the most likely to win out of these guys. Why did I just hear a Discord noise? That should be muted. Whatever. I'll just keep going. I don't hate how this is going. But yeah, Liquid is okay. And then T1, I have next. This is definitely going to be my hottest take. Um, I'm a lot higher up on T1 for this event specifically. I thought they showed a lot of good stuff at Tokyo, but just we're not quite there. Especially with like all the like first time land stuff with some of those players. I think Saya was the one that it didn't really affect, which he's been to lands before. I guess Zeta too. He's been to lands as well. So I think if they could fix some of that stuff, continue building on what they've had, I think it's just a better version of what we're gonna get from Foot if they do that. Which is why I have them in this dark horses tier. Which, I mean, I have faith in literally every single piece on that team to be very, very good. Maybe not like best in the world, um, but I think they are definitely my dark horse pick. A team that nobody is talking about right now for good or bad reasons, um, and could definitely kind of be better than these teams below them, especially. That's why I have them here. All right, and then onto our final tier here, which is the favorites for the event. And I'm gonna have Loud at the bottom of this tier. Originally when I made this, before I learned about a lot of like the internal stuff that they've had or internal problems they've had with like Ospas and less, specifically, I just don't have a ton of faith um, in what they're gonna do. I think there's a chance they get grouped, but also they won Americas. Like they got second at lock in. They looked like they were gonna make like at least top three at Tokyo going into it, and they just flopped. I think if they can fix some of that stuff, fix some of their issues with like maybe Ospas going a little bit too fast, or people not keeping up with him. Like I think it was similar issues that they had um at what was it, Copenhagen, the second event last year. Um, I think if they fix those again and they come into champions, they should be good. Kawanzine gets out of his slump that he was at that event. I think this team should be okay, but the internal issues really scare me. Like I had them third before I learned about that. Um, and yeah, I think there's also a chance, similar to what I said about DRX, that they're just like, fuck it, we're gonna just tap heads and we're gonna win the event because of that. So who knows? But yeah. Next, I have Ichi. Um, this might be a bit low for some people, especially because they were winning a lot of their games by just getting Fracture and just owning people because they have the best idea in the world of how to play that map, if that makes sense. I think EG's Fracture is the best any team is at any map in the world. Again, also might not make sense. But like if you put EG's Fracture against Fnatic's Lotus or something like that, if you get what I'm talking about with that, I think EG is the best at that. But that could fall off. That could get anti-stratted. And also, I think there's a good chance that their players just aren't in the same form that they were in uh, at the last event, in which they could fall off. So I do have faith in EG, just not, I don't think, to do what they did at Tokyo. And then after them, I have EDG, if I can talk. Um, this is very, very high for a team that I had rated in this like bottom upset teams tier at Tokyo. But I think if they continue the trajectory they're on from lock-in to Tokyo to champions, they should be one of the best teams in the world. I thought they should have won that game against Paper X. Um, but yeah, their calling looked amazing. Every single individual is always on point. Um, yeah, if they stay at that level, Kong's still just playing in an unreal way. I don't know how he does some of the shit he does. They're the team that I have the most faith in to beat Fnatic. Um, like if they can knock Fnatic off early in the tournament, it gives other teams a chance. Just because the way they play so weird that it can fuck up Fnatic a lot. But yeah, I don't know. There is a little bit of me that says they could fall off and just get grouped, and that's why they are behind NRG, who's my next team. Um, I'm just gonna talk about NRG now. I think I said everything I need to say about EDG. Energy is just so consistent. I don't know about them winning this event. There's definitely a chance. Like you never doubt energy, no matter what. Um, they've made what is it, top four in every event since Champions 2021, which was when Victor had COVID. At the event before that, they made top two. So it's kind of insane to put them anywhere below like fourth in any power ranking. And I just think they're so consistent that putting them two should be pretty safe. That they should be in this maybe 1 to 4 range. Um, I mean, there is a chance they get grouped because Zeta pops off or something like that. Uh, but I just don't see that happening. I think they're too good of a team to do that. And then I'll talk about Fnatic again a little bit. Every individual top of their role in the world, I think, except for Boaster and IGLing, which I still think FNS is clearing him on by a little bit. It's not by a lot. Like I thought the gap was still pretty big after lock-in. Um, but yeah, Chronicle, best flex player in the world. Not the most flexible, but still would be considered the flex player on that team, and he is the best at that. Leo is the best initiator in the world, even though I do think it's close between him and Crashies, which both of those are why I think energy are so high. I also think Victor is probably the second best flex player. Um, Boaster is probably the best IGL in terms of fragging in the world, and like the balance between the two, between being a good IGL and fragging well. Who else is on that team? Durka is the best duelist in the world right now. Maybe not the best opper. I think that goes to Kankang. Ospas could contend with him. Demon One can contend with him. Um, who's the other player on that team? And Alfier is just the best Sentinel in the world, especially the best like attack side lurker on Sentinel. Just some of the shots he hits while he's like walking up a short unbind is just unbelievable. And this team can also go to some more like double duelist comps and play like if they want to play like the America's double duelist comp, which is like Jet, Raze, Viper, Astra, and who's the other agent? Sky. They can do some of that stuff. Like this team has so much flexibility to play whatever the hell they want, and that's because of like Alfier, Durka, Chronicle. Unless Durka actually, because Durka has to play the duelist, but like you get the point. I just think this team is the best team in the world by a lot. They should win this event. If they don't, I think it'd be a surprise. Um, but yeah, let me guys know what you guys think in the comments below. Obviously, Fnatic being in a tier of their own isn't that hard of a take. But yeah, I'll be coming out with my probably I'll do Americas first, with how every team can win the event. I'll do that next. I'll finish those 4 videos. Then I'll go into my top 20, and then my pick'ems, which I've already recorded, but I'll be putting out like a few days or like the day before the event starts. So stay tuned for all that content, especially if you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.